So this is sort of a part 2 to my original video of why I am no longer a vegan. This part I will talk about what I eat now. You can check out my video right here and that'll give you a bit of a background of where I'm coming from. Before you judge, I'm not here trying to convert any vegans, so this is not a vegan hate video. This is just my story that I'm sharing. I'd just like to say if you are thinking about changing your diet, it's best to consult with your GP or a dietitian or nutritionist before you do so, because there can be an adaptation period. Now, let's get on to the video. So in the last video, we left off at me trying FODMAP diet for a week. After doing all the veganism, after doing strict elimination diets, I was just done. I'd been hearing about this carnivore diet recently. Of course, I knew about it through Michaela Peterson, the daughter of Jordan Peterson. I'd been hearing about it from many other doctors as well, such as Dr. Sean Baker, Dr. Anthony Chafee, and Dr. Ken Berry. I was fascinated by the carnivore diet. When I heard testimonials about the carnivore diet, I was shocked. I thought, I'm experiencing these issues, but I could never imagine myself going on such a restrictive diet. It sounded so limiting to me. And at the same time, my mindset was all about plant-based diets being the best diets. And I was quite ignorant on the difference between plant-based proteins and animal-based proteins. After doing a whole bunch of research, I just jumped straight in. And at first, I did find it quite challenging. Yes, I experienced the usual symptoms at the start. I found it quite challenging to not have such a variety of foods. I thought I had to have all the colors of the rainbow when it came to food. But I continued to research. It made sense nutritionally. I could completely understand where these professionals were coming from when they were talking about the benefits of the carnivore diet. I thought it sounded extreme at first, but when I understood it, and I understood how it is the most appropriate diet for our species, and how we've been surviving off this extremely nutrient-dense food throughout our history, I understood we don't need heaps of scientific studies telling us that the carnivore diet is good for us. We have the entire history of humans being alive proving that this helped us evolve. So for 6 months after starting the carnivore diet, I was only eating meat, seafood, dairy, eggs, poultry. I did include some sweeteners. I did consume coffee a little bit here and there as well. So right from the get-go, there's a few things that got worse for me. There's a few things that got better for me. I wanted so bad for my story to be just like these testimonials that I had heard. I wanted all of my issues to be resolved. I thought it's this miracle diet that would solve all my problems. Let's talk about the good news first. For the first time in my life, I experienced periods that were not that painful that I had to lay on the floor crying. I used to get such bad pain that I would have to take medication and I would just get really heavy flow. After switching to carnivore, almost immediately I noticed that my cycles were way less painful. The flow was much lighter. That was quite a shock to me. When I started reaching out to other carnivores and being involved in the community, I realized that that's actually normal to have this light of a flow. There was also some skin issues I was experiencing that went away almost immediately. Within a week, my bloating went down significantly. I did notice straight away that mentally my focus and my memory improved dramatically. I started to get this zest for life. I was interested in things again. I actually felt a huge difference in the way that I thought. And that made me realize how much brain fog I used to feel. The main reason I believe that I experienced a whole bunch of negative symptoms is what a lot of carnivores experience is what's called oxalate dumping. Nobody likes it. Oxalate dumping is basically when the body is not getting a regular supply of oxalates, it starts to release them from the body at a very rapid rate. And that causes a whole bunch of issues. There is a specific protocol called the low oxalate diet, specifically designed for people who have kidney issues, because consuming oxalates actually increases your risk of developing kidney stones and other kidney issues. Knowing what I know now, I would not recommend anyone consume oxalates oxalates at all. Actually, I recently found out that one of the cleaning products that I use, called Barkeeper's Friend, uses oxalic acid to clean because it's an amazing abrasive. So what exactly are oxalates? Well, they're tiny crystals that are present in certain plant foods. And you'd be surprised at which plant foods you find oxalates in. Oxalates are present in the foods that we consider healthy, such as spinach, leafy greens like kale and silver beet that I used to consume quite a lot of, like cabbage, Brussels sprouts, almonds, coffee and tea. Chocolate actually has one of the highest amounts of oxalates in it. You see, the plants do not want to be eaten, and so what they do is they engage in biological warfare. They release these defense compounds, including oxalates, to combat predators that are trying to eat them, so it slowly destroys their insides. But because we're such large animals, it takes much longer for them to destroy us. But in the meantime, it's accumulating in our bodies, lodging in our tissues, skin, bones, cells, organs. And so coming from a vegan lifestyle where I used to consume a lot of leafy greens, things that I considered superfoods, I experienced one of the worst oxalate dumping symptoms. If you want to know more about oxalates, I would highly recommend you check out Toxic Superfoods by Dr. Sally Norton, or just look up Sally Norton on YouTube and you'll find many interviews. What sort of symptoms did I experience as part of my oxalate dumping symptoms? These are just my best guess, because as of currently we don't know too much about what the mechanism of each body is when it comes to oxalate dumping. There are many detox pathways for everybody, and for some people they detox more using the skin, other people detox more using their bladder and urine, other people detox more through like their saliva. I was experiencing headaches and migraines, and for me that's quite common. Even on a vegan diet, I would consistently experience headaches and migraines. At the start of carnivore, I experienced extremely painful cuts on the edges of my lips. I initially thought that was just a B3 deficiency. So I did supplement with B3, but it didn't resolve. Then I thought maybe it's a zinc deficiency, because that's what a professional told me. I supplemented with zinc and it still didn't resolve. Ultimately, it did resolve on its own later on, but now I believe because some people detox using their saliva, I believe that I was detoxing oxalates through my saliva and they were causing this reaction. These hard, sharp crystals, as they're coming out through the tissues, they damage everything in their pathway. I was experiencing extremely painful nostrils. The inside of my nose would get painful and it would bleed, and there would be cuts in there that would just take weeks to heal. At that time, I didn't know what I was going through. I just thought maybe I'm dehydrated, so I started to use more electrolytes in my water. Turns out, actually adding electrolytes can potentially increase oxalate dumping symptoms, because the oxalate starts to bind to the minerals and then gets released from the body. I also experienced painful bumps underneath my skin on my face. They were almost acne-like. It almost felt like they were going to turn into a pimple, but they never did, and they just sort of went away on their own. I now believe that they were probably just cleansing reactions, but it could potentially be an oxalate dumping symptom. One thing that I did experience that was a huge cause of concern for me, that is still sort of unexplained to me, is I was getting migrating pains all over my body. They would start on the right side of my body, and then by the end of the day they would move to the left side of my body, and then the next day they would be on the right side again, and sometimes on my upper body, sometimes on my lower body, sometimes all over my body. There was no rhyme or reason as to where these pains were coming from. I just experienced them randomly. I also got some intermittent joint pain and some old injuries that sort of popped up again. And of course, the GI issues have still not resolved for me. I am still trying to find my balance. 8 months into carnivore, one thing I found out after going carnivore is that my vitamin D levels were extremely low. I also discovered that I have arthritis in my spine on multiple spots. Being in my early 30s, I thought that was quite shocking, but considering the diet where I'm coming from, it completely makes sense to me now. Moving forward, I have eliminated eggs, dairy, seafood, and poultry from my diet. Now I am 4 weeks into my lion diet experiment. I am being completely strict. I'm only consuming beef, lamb, or goat. I would love to say that I'm thriving on carnivore and I'm thriving on lion diet. And there are some benefits that I have experienced, such as weight loss and food sobriety, that I am extremely grateful for. But there are some issues that I'm still hoping to resolve using this protocol. And I do understand that it's going to take a lot of time to do it. If you're interested in these types of videos, you're welcome to follow my journey, so keep an eye out. And until next time, stay well.